Thanks to the support as a channel member, Firesoul. Oh, have I got an episode for you coming up today, boys and girls? We should win the Bundesliga and qualify for the Europa League final. Hello and welcome to Club 6, Part 10 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have a Bundesliga game against our title rivals, Leipzig, and the second leg of the Europa League semi-final against Nice. We beat them 2-0 in the first leg off camera. Also off camera, we won 9-1 over Hanover. It was 8-0 at half-time. Not only was it 8-0 at half-time, I think it was 7-0. 6-0 by 25 minutes. Ballo was outstanding. He's just very, very good. We absolutely ruined them. This is what the league table looks like. 2 games to go. We're 4 points clear of Leipzig. If we just get a draw at their place, we win the league now. If we lose, we'll have to go into the final day of the season and pick up a win against Wolfsburg. But Wolfsburg are down in lower mid-table. We should be fine. European football-wise, we're 2-0 up from the first leg over Nice. It's Lazio and Valencia in the other semi-final, so I would love, personally, a final against Lazio if we can make that happen. Interestingly as well, in the Champions League, the 2 semi-finals are Man City, Man United, and then Bayern Munich and Leipzig. So Leipzig, who lost in the final to us last year at Real Madrid, are in the semi-final with Bayern. It shows that the Bundesliga is strong. They are 2 of the best teams in Europe, and they're below us. I think it bodes very well for us next season. If we're going to win the league, if we're better than Bayern Munich and Leipzig, you'd like to think we could have a Champions League win on the card as early as next season, which, to be fair, we've spent £751 million this season. We should win the Bundesliga, we should win the Europa League, and we should win the Champions League next year with that kind of spending. And I don't think we need to do a lot to this squad in the summer because we are really very good at football. And this is the team we are sending to Leipzig to hopefully emphasise that point. It's Diego Henrique in goal, a back 4 of Aranua, Diego Norberto, Stewart and John, Stubaluk and Idloff in midfield, Ballo, Schultz and Luis Gustavo behind Ruben up front. If you're wondering why it's not quite the normal team, Locatelli's suspended and we've got a couple of players who are needing a little bit of a rest off the back of the Nice game, and with Nice coming up again in a couple of days. So Boning and Postorino in particular starting this one from the bench to get a little bit of, and Drury, of course. I keep forgetting about Drury's going to leave this summer. I keep forgetting about him. He's low priority. Look, Drury is brilliant, but Schultz is even more brilliant. I think if we do any business this summer, and with £133 million of a transfer budget, we'll probably do a bit. I'm thinking the business we probably need to do is put Drury out of his misery and let him go to Manchester City, where he keeps going on about wanting to go to, where he can link up with Mori Koulibaly and form a terrifying attacking midfield duo for them, which could put a slight problem in our aspirations for winning the Champions League. But use that money, along with the budget that we've got, to invest in Delgado up front to compete with Luis Gustavo and a proper defensive midfield player, whoever that might be. I don't really have anyone in mind for that because it's not something I've had particularly often at any of the clubs that I've been at. I mean, we've had a bit of a misfits gallery over the course of the last 10 seasons, even, of weird options as our defensive midfielder, the likes of Navarro and aging Sandro Tonali, young Morales at Real Madrid. So who knows what I'll come up with, but we could really use one of them for the big games. But talking of big games, this is a title decider, and we've just gone 1-0 up through Idloff. It's John on the right-hand side, plays it back to Stubaluk, who gives it back to John, into Luis Gustavo, who turns inside on his left foot. He is a left footer, which is why he's so effective when he goes out there onto that right-hand side, just like Boning, and he plays a beautiful pass into the path of Idloff, the box-to-box midfielder who'd rushed forward, late run into the box, taps it home, 1-0 to Dortmund. As things stand, that puts us 7 points clear at the top of Bundesliga with just 1 game to go. Our goal difference is stupid compared to everybody else's. It shows just how good we are at this football lark. And as it stands right now, we are going to be breaking Leipzig hearts for the second season in a row. They're, of course, the defending Bundesliga champions, having wrestled the title off of Bayern Munich after 15 years of dominance from Bayern. And it looks like we're going to let them have it for just the 1 year before we take it off them. And like I say, break their hearts in the same way we broke their hearts in the Champions League final last year. Ballo is going off at halftime. He's tired, so Schultz can move over to the left-hand side. I think this might be the first time I've played Schultz left of Drury, which was the plan when we signed him. So Schultz moving out onto the left, Drury getting a rare appearance in an attacking position with him. That's Tamer Sayan, who we had at Schalke. Well, I never. It looks like his career turned out really rather nicely after all as well. The two Schalke academy boys basically playing opposite each other on the teams today. Schultz on the left for us, Sayan on the right for them. How are Schalke doing as poorly as they are, potentially about to get relegated down to the 3rd tier here in Germany, with a youth academy churning out players who are playing at the absolute top of German football? It makes no sense. Right, we're going to take off Schultz. Benaday is going to come on for him for a rare appearance. And who else needs a rest? Probably Lewis Stewart, who's just coming back from injury. Mosquera can come on for him. I've barely used Mosquera this season. I will play him now just because we're supposed to be resting Postorino. But this is probably the first time Mosquera has been on a football pitch since Christmas, probably. Is that George Anser who's just come on for them or just gone off for them? Have they got a few LOLLUJO veterans in their team? That's nice to see. Benny McCarthy, he's quite good at this football management lark, but not as good as me because we are moments away from a Bundesliga title. Maybe I'm celebrating slightly too quickly because there is a Leipzig highlight, but of course, even a draw and we win the league, they've got to score twice in injury time for them to take it into the last day of the season. Mosquera, always rated him. Lovely headed clearance from him. Cross comes in and it is my old boy, Tamer Sayan. I gave him his professional debut many years ago. I think he's offside, but he's certainly trying to alert me to his presence. You can be sure we're going to be scouting because we need another right winger. So if we can bring him in as competition on that right-hand side for Boning, you can be sure I would like to get another one of my boys together. The goal does stand. Please don't break our hearts here. Oh, my word. We've still got 30 seconds left in this game. Like I say, the draw is enough. Ruben plays it into Drury. Drury, surely. I mean, it would have been nice to have that moment where you know it's definitely won. If that goes in there, we could still get the moment here. But even with a draw, unless my maths is worse than it's ever been, this is still going to be a title presentation after the match. Gustavo with the corner. It is headed clear. We need to be careful here. They've launched the ball into our half. John is there to cover. Plays it forward to Drury. We'll have the whistle now, ref. Luis Gustavo trying to get in behind the goalkeeper. He's just lumping it in whatever direction he's facing because he doesn't want to risk conceding. We have got another corner. We're playing injury time on top of injury time here. Gustavo with an in-swinger again. It comes to Drury. That must be it. Are we ever going to get a final whistle? There is the final whistle. There is the Bundesliga. This is the first time in, 20 years since Dortmund have won the league. It might not be quite that long, but it's been a while. And it's the Kev effect. This is what we do. We won the league twice in a row in England with Norwich. We went to Spain, played 2 seasons, won 2 La Ligas. We've now done 1 season in Germany. We've won a Bundesliga. That's 5 domestic league titles in the last 6 seasons across 3 different countries. And people say I'm not very good at Football Manager. Goodness me, who's doing the cartwheel? Whoever the number 16 is, I'm not sure off the top of my head. But we've won the Bundesliga. What a time to be alive. Now we just have to finish the rest of the job for this season. We need to get past Nice, get into the Europa League final, and add another trophy to the collection that we've not yet won in the shape of the Europa League. So we're back pretty close to full strength for the second leg against Nice. Idolov is the only one who's not really fully fit, so he's going to sit this one out altogether. So Diego Henrique in goal, a back four of Locatelli, Stewart, Postorino and John, Stubulak and Drury in midfield, Ballo, Schultz and Boding behind Luis Gustavo up front. And we're 2-0. I was trying to think of the scoreline. We're 2-0 up from the first leg. And fingers crossed. I mean, we looked like a much better team than Nice. We should be a much better team than Nice. So fingers crossed. This should, and I don't want to tempt fate too much, we've probably got a hangover from celebrating the league title for the first time in, I think, is this season 16 or 17? It's like 16, 17 years. First league title in a long, long time. First in a generation almost. So we're going to be pretty happy about that, but we still want to add more silverware. The Europa League is actually a competition Dortmund have never won. I was just nosing through the previous competition wins. They've got the European Cup and the Cup Winners' Cup in there, but no Europa Cup, Europa League, UEFA Cup, whatever you might call it. So we'd like to win it. And Boning has just grabbed the opening goal to put us 3-0 up on aggregate and hopefully set the tone for the rest of the second leg of this semi-final. Schultz, as always, actively involved. It ends up out with Locatelli on the left-hand side and Boning there for a very simple tap-in at the far post. And the next highlight within a minute is a corner that we've scored from as well. It's an in-swinger from Ballo. Stefan Drury is lurking inside the 6-yard box. He's not the kind of player we'd typically be aiming for with these. I don't think we're aiming for him here either. He kind of comes from, I think he's the guy who's maybe marking the goalkeeper on your set-piece instruction. But he gets there first. He scores. It's 2-0 on the night, 4-0 on aggregate. And just like that, really, the game has started and it's already done. We're through to the final, pretty much. Valencia have just gone 1-0 up over Lazio. That one was 0-0 from the first leg. So personally, it'd be a little bit of a shame if it's Valencia in the final. And I would assume Valencia are likely to be the better of the two teams as well. But it doesn't really matter who we play. Valencia were no competition to Real Madrid last year. Real Madrid were roughly equivalent standard to Leipzig last year, and Leipzig are no competition for us this year. So by some quick Kev comparisons, which is similar to Kev maths, we should be much better than Valencia. We don't really know anything about the Italian league. We've not really come up against a lot of Italian teams throughout the save. We've kind of ignored that Italy exists. We've had this little tour around England, Spain and Germany. But once again, for whatever reason, it's certainly not by design. It just seems to be the way these Non-League to Legends series pan out. I don't think I've ever ended up in Italy in Non-League to Legends. So it would be maybe a goal for next year's save. Try and get to Italy at some point because we've been to France as well as the other major European league. And I'm thinking back through 7 or 8 iterations of Non-League to Legend, however many it's been. And maybe we've got some LOLLUJO historians in who can tell me otherwise, but I don't ever remember managing in Italy in Non-League to Legend, which just seems like a weird situation, really, considering how many times we've done the series and how many times we've been to Spain and Germany in particular. We've had little dabbles with France here and there, but we seem to end up in both Spain and Germany every year. Must just be I don't know, perhaps you're more likely to get jobs there from the Premier. I don't know. Why would that be? Let me know. Why we're so much more likely to end up in those countries. I guess it's because they're considered stronger leagues along with the Premier League. Maybe Italy not. I don't know. I'm speculating, but we don't need to worry because that's not a concern for this year's save. This year's save is all about finishing things off with Dortmund, and we are edging ever closer to doing that. I can see the end in sight for this year's Non-League to Legend. A Europa League win this year, a Champions League win next year, and then we can retire off into the sunset and do what comes next here on the channel. And I've got some fun stuff planned for what comes next. Worry not. Right. Have we just given away a penalty? Are we actually trying to make this interesting towards the end? Because it's kind of, we're trotting towards the final at the moment. It's never really been in doubt, but Nice have already got one consolation goal back. We've now given away a penalty. In fact, we haven't given away a penalty. The referee is in our pocket, which is a useful place for him to be. I think what we're going to do is just make our usual few changes. Gustavo's had a rare, very poor game. Who else needs to come off? I mean, there's lots of players similarly tired. We'll take off Drury for Hesse, and we could take off one of the wide players, I guess. We'll take off Boning or Benaday. He can come on and play on the right-hand side. He's someone who, if he's going to make it, needs to get a little bit more game time next year. He's obviously got a lot of very strong competition in the positions he can play. But all the same, if he's good enough, he'll force his way into getting some game time. So it's going to be a big season for him next year. I worry that maybe he might not be good enough. Ballo, though, definitely good enough, although doesn't have the finish for us that time. That's like the Ballo that I know and love from off camera. We've talked a few times now about how he always likes to show off for you lot. And that was a little bit more like what I was used to seeing, certainly in the first half of the season when I was talking about replacing him, because he seemed to be all running and not much end product. And he seems to have fixed that in the second half of the season, but that was much more like classic Ballo. Benaday is in behind it. There's nobody up supporting him, but he holds the ball up well, plays it back to Ruben, who takes a tumble inside the penalty area. And I think this should be given. I don't think there's much question about whether or not this was a penalty. And at 4-1, that will just confirm things up for us. It's going to be Schultz to take, who has been fantastic. He was the match winner in the first leg. So he's been very good as part of this Europa League run. What a signing he's turned out to be. We were a good side before Colin Schultz returned to Germany. We are an outstanding side with him. He's just made everybody around him better. And he's not too shabby himself either. 4-1 now on the night, 6-1 on aggregate. And the only thing that remains to be seen is who we're going to be playing in tomorrow's final. Of course, tomorrow will be a YouTube premiere, so make sure you're around at 4 p.m. so that you can join us in the chat and watch the experience live. That's a lovely goal. And get involved in the chat and all that kind of stuff. We do our big finals as premieres, and then we'll be back the day after with transfers. And you can see I'm going to spend this massive transfer budget that I've been given once again. We're not going to spend £750 million again next season, I'm afraid. Those of you who like to see the big spending, we're not going to do another £500 million summer. But there are bits and pieces that we need to do. I still didn't see what had gone on in the other semi-final. We'll have to get our confirmation now. It is Lazio. Oh, lovely stuff. It's going to be Dortmund against an imaginary creator club in the Europa League final. Oh, the romance of it. What's gone on in the other European competition? Which one of our German rivals has made it into the final? It's going to be what seems to be a really regular Champions League final. Man City versus Bayern Munich. They last faced each other there, but they faced each other there as well. There always seems to be one of them there or thereabouts. So it's the third best team in Germany going to be taking on presumably still the best team in the Premier League. But the important headline is it's Dortmund versus Lazio Europa League final, and that will be tomorrow, 4 p.m. as a premiere here on the channel. I look forward to seeing you there. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.